When we're born into this world, we don't really get a say. Little boys and little girls handed the brand new families. There comes a time in life when we finally get to choose, and I choose you. I choose you. We can't give our 2 cents of how tall we want to be. We don't get an opinion on our ethnicity, but the one we spend our life with, that we get to choose. And I choose you. I choose you. I choose you to be by my side. I choose you. Now hold me at night. It's the biggest decision I'm about to get right. And I choose you. I choose you. Everybody has one, a choice they get to make. Have you made heaven that decides the family trait? Now we all pick the branches that then become the roots. And I choose you. I choose you. I choose you.
All right. You ready?
Yep, I was born ready.
Sweet. Let's light this candle.
Heart beats fast, colors and promises. How to be brave? How can I love when I'm afraid to fall? But watching you stand alone, all of my doubt suddenly goes away somehow. One step closer. I have died every day waiting for you, darling, don't.
Dearly beloved and honored guests, welcome. We are gathered here today to join André and Kaitie in the spiritual union of marriage. I first met André and Kaitie back in Zambia during our time as Peace Corps volunteers. I met Kaitie first. She was in the life group, which for the uninitiated stands for some arbitrary string of words, meaning that she worked with trees, bushes, and generally anything to do with agriculture. I was in the rap group, and no, that doesn't mean I was bringing the good gospel of Ice Cube or Eminem to the good people of Zambia. It means I was helping people raise fish. So, yeah. Now, because our specialties were different, we trained in entirely different areas of the country. So, we didn't really get to see the other group or any actual volunteers until the end of training. This was when we met André. A small group of us had been sent up to Central Province to visit currently serving volunteers so we could get a glimpse of what our service would look like. I remember we were nervous and excited when we boarded the bus, as we'd never been outside the training areas before. By the time we finally got to the office, it was nighttime and our small group of trainees were starving, sweaty, and tired after being cramped into that bus for hours on end. As we walked in the door, dragging our souls behind us, André came bounding out of the kitchen with a big smile on his face and a mulishani, which is Bemba for how are you. He'd been cooking up a storm in preparation for all of us and promptly showed us around the office. But most importantly, he showed us where the showers were and told us dinner would be ready in 10. Now, if that doesn't scream husband material right there, I don't know what does. Hell, I thought of marrying him at that very second. Anyway, it was the welcome we needed to rejuvenate us. We settled in, helped him finish cooking, and picked his brain on everything we could about Zambia. A few weeks after that, we graduated from training and were sworn in as actual volunteers. During our service, I'd be able to see them about once every month since I came out to the bush or when I came out from the bush to the office. And since I rarely saw them, I looked forward to my short visits in the hopes that I could catch one of them so we could talk, laugh, and cook together. It was on one of these visits that I first saw them displaying the behaviors of what an anthropologist might consider to be a courtship ritual. See, I went to go tell André something, couldn't find him, went to go check the front porch, and there they were, alone, together. Andre's arm over the back of the bench in the classical flirting position, telling a story or something to make Kaitie giggle like a schoolgirl. And finally, the light bulb went off in my head. Immediately, I turned around to let them have their little moment. It was scandalous, and they were adorable. With every moment after that, you could see the camaraderie and the affection grow. It could be seen from the smallest smile to the grandest gesture that they really were becoming something that meant something to each other. Andre is a great mentor to me. He is the Kenobi to my Skywalker, and Kaitie is always so fascinated with international development and politics that you can spend almost hours just picking her brain on what book or podcast she's listening to. Get them together in a conversation, and you're set for days. A lot to talk about, a lot to laugh about, but the bottom line is, she's pretty, he's awesome, and together they're pretty awesome. Now that's what made it so refreshing in a job that would so often wear you down and leave you alone in the literal woods. It was the laughter, it was the love, and it was the company of people like them. Fast forward 2 more years, we're all done with service, and I get a random call from Andre saying that he'd popped the question to Kaitie, and then he asked if I wanted to officiate their wedding. You're looking at the answer to both of those questions. Would the ring bearers please come forward? Sorry. Oh, would the speakers please come forward?
Bring Kaitie's mom up first.
Would the bride's mother please come forward? Apologies.
Okay, I don't know if you can all. Thanks. I'm not tech savvy enough to use my phones like these kids do, but anyway, here we have Andre, who grew up in, I never say this right, the Adirondack Mountains, did I get it right? In New York, and Kaitie, who grew up in the Great Plains of Iowa. 2 young people from very different parts of the United States, searching for adventure and wanting to help others. When they signed up for the Peace Corps, they had no idea that God's direction would lead them to meet, fall in love in the distant land of Zambia. I understand that the first day Andre and Kaitie met, Andre grabbed Kaitie's favorite penguin pillow pal, Joe McWaddles. Now, when he grabbed Joe McWaddles, he took off riding with it and hiding it in a place only he knew where it was. However, what Andre didn't know at the time was, number 1, you don't mess with Kaitie. And number 2, at that time, you didn't mess with Joe McWaddles. This little prank, which Andre, you know, could have been very devastating to you at the time, led to where we are today, standing in yet another area, Estes Park in Colorado, celebrating your humor, your adventures, your love, and your union of marriage. From the beginning of time, God gifted us with a beautiful, perfect, and flawless garden. For those amongst us who have experienced love, reflect back to your wedding day and just how beautiful, perfect, and flawless your love seemed to be. God planned for the union of marriage. Just like God's garden, marriage is a beautiful thing. Just like a garden, a marriage needs to be well cared for and well nurtured. As Sean alluded, in Zambia, and Andre and Kaitie ended up in the communities where one of their tasks was sustainable farming, or as we call it, gardening. Now they have some more gardening to do, and that is called marriage. In Zambia, growing up, Kaitie heard how many times I related our children to my favorite flower, the rose, and how they were a gift from God in the garden of our lives. To have a beautiful, fragrant rose with lasting blooms, it all starts at the good roots of the plant. Those good roots of your marriage will come from a strong foundation of faith, morals, and unconditional love. Roses need to be planted in the proper soil mix. As you are joining the union of both of your upbringings and your family roots and traditions, you are starting to mix your own soil for your marriage and your future. Each of you need to be conscious about the elements that you want to bring into your marriage. Thank you. Just how that will look when it's combined together and creating the perfect soil for your future together. Roses need to be planted in the right place for its best growth. In your marriage, you are 2 individuals joining together as one. It is important that each of you continue to shine, grow, and bloom individually. However, it is just as important, if not more, that you nurture each other to grow and bloom together as a couple. Roses need to be fertilized regularly and watered wisely. Life will get busy. Your careers will continue to grow and become demanding. Each of you will continue to set new goals and expectations. That's a part of life. With the rose, if it is not fertilized routinely, the plant still thrives or lives. It may even continue to grow, but the buds may not bloom and the colors may not be bright or fragrant. When it's not watered correctly, the leaves turn yellow, curl in, wilt, and drop off the plant. If in these busy and hectic times you tire from working on your marriage, it is easy for the colors to fade, for the thrones of unfiltered words, anger, resentment, and unmet expectations to poke through, for the leaves of communication, time together, emotional and physical love to wither and drop. Your marriage must be continually fertilized and watered. It takes work all of the time. Continue to set date nights, doing something special and unexpected for each other, and keep your time together as top priority, especially in those crazy and busy times. Roses need to be pruned and weeded. When you prune the faded blooms and the weak branches off of the plant, you provide the proper channel to flow through the plant to offer new growth. In your marriage, it is important to keep your communication open. Talk through things and not hold them in, and never go to bed angry. Prune or weed out bad thoughts, words, and selfish and prideful ways. Learn to let go of your expectations and be prepared to forgive. Encourage each other with positive, uplifting thoughts and words, building each other up, allowing each other to be fulfilled, and thus being encouraged to grow and blossom. Keep your rose healthy and show them off. André, a husband is to love his wife as his very own self, with behavior worthy of respect and esteem, always seeking the best for her with an attitude of loving kindness. And Kaitie, the wife, must see to it that she respects and delights in her husband, that she notices him, prefers him, treats him with loving concern, treasuring him, honoring him, and holding him dear. André, we are excited to officially have you join our family as a son. We love you. We love how you have shown your love and commitment for Kaitie. And when I was visiting with you guys in March, that was perfectly clear how much you loved her, and I knew she was going to be okay. Kaitie, we are so very proud of the beautiful young woman you have become and the choices you have made. Your adventurous spirit and strong independence have landed you a wonderful partner in life. Your dad and I pray our blessings upon your marriage, and together that your lives will grow into a beautiful, well-nurtured garden.
Would the groom's sister please come forward?
A reading from the first letter of St. Paul to the Corinthians. If I speak in the tongue of men and of angels, but have not love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to move mountains, but have not love, I am nothing. If I give away all I have, and if I deliver my body to be burned, but have not love, I gain nothing. Love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful. It is not arrogant or rude. Love does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrong, but rejoices in the truth. Love bears all things, hopes all things, believes all things, endures all things. Love never fails. As for prophecies, they will pass away. As for tongues, they will cease. As for knowledge, it will pass away. For our knowledge is imperfect, and our prophecy is imperfect. But when the perfect comes, the imperfect will pass away. When I was a child, I spoke like a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I gave up childish ways. For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall understand fully, even as I have been fully understood. So faith, hope, and love abide, these three, but the greatest of these is love.
Would the ring bearers please come forward? Marriage. This spiritual union is something not to be taken lightly. They choose this path not because it is easy, but because they wish to share their lives more completely with each other. With this, they commit to share not just in the euphoria, joys, and mysteries of life together, but also in its challenges, hardships, responsibilities, and obligations. Anything worth pursuing in this life, after all, is difficult and tasking, but in equal or greater measure. You may now exchange the rings. Do you, André, take Kaitie to be your lawfully wedded wife, to have and to hold, in sickness and in health, in good times and woe, for richer or poorer, keeping yourself unto her for as long as you both shall live?
I do.
And do you, Kaitie, take André to be your lawfully wedded husband, to have and to hold, in sickness and in health, in good times and woe, for richer or poorer, keeping yourself unto him for as long as you both shall live?
I do.
And by the authority invested in me by American Marriage Ministries and the state of Colorado, I now pronounce you married. You may kiss the bride. Ceremony is now concluded. Would all the Peace Corps volunteers head to the back for a group photo, and all the family members please head to the bar for refreshments.
I'm booking myself a one-way flight. I gotta see the color in your eyes. You're telling myself I'm gonna be alright without you, baby, is a waste of time. Yeah, our first date, girl, the seasons changed. God washed away in a summer rain. You can't undo a fall like this, 'cause love don't